Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the Bissell CrossWave OmniForce Edge Wet and Dry Vacuum Cleaner. Let's find out more. So if you don't know what a wet and dry vacuum cleaner, it's simply a vacuum cleaner that vacuums your floor but also mops them at the same time. And the way it does that, there's a rotating brush roll that's constantly being fed with brush water. And then as the machine is cleaning, the dirty water is sucked back into a dirty water tank, making cleaning your floors much easier, much faster, and much more efficient, because obviously you don't have to vacuum first and then mop with a mop and water bucket, but you're doing it 2 in 1. And also you're always cleaning with fresh water because the fresh water and dirty water never mix. They're in 2 separate tanks. Now, as far as I remember, Bissell entered the wet and dry vacuum market a long time ago. Matter of fact, one of the first wet and dry vacuums I ever had was a Bissell CrossWave. Of course, the technology progressed a lot since then, and over the years I've seen Bissell kind of left behind, whereby other competitors were years ahead in terms of the features that they're offering. But I recently saw the OmniForce Edge, and I was curious to see if Bissell has caught up with the competitors. And spoiler alert, unfortunately it seems they did not. And let me tell you a bit more as to why. So to start with, these wet and dry vacuums are kind of like cordless stick vacuums. But over the years, to make it easier and more effortless to move these around, manufacturers started implementing some technologies to make pushing the machine much easier. So that started with the brush roll that's rotating. It would assist you in moving the machine forward. And eventually today it got to a point where the wheels in the back are motorized wheels. So there's kind of a self-propulsion system that literally propels the machine forward and also backwards when you pull it, making it much easier to use the machine, to move it around with very little effort on your end. Fortunately, Bissell does not have that yet, so I've been using wet and dry vacuums for a while. I've tested over a dozen different ones, all of which have that self-propulsion. To be honest, it's the first time in many years that I try one without the self-propulsion, and boy did I feel it. And it's significantly harder to move it around. You kind of have to apply a lot of force. When you get used to using self-propelled machines over the last couple of years and then you go back to using something like this, it feels very primitive. So that was a bit disappointing. The other disappointing thing, the earlier Bissell CrossWave models had very thick borders on both sides of the cleaning brush, which meant they could not get to the edge. Now this one is the OmniForce Edge, which means the brush extends to the edge, which is great. However, it only does that on one side, so it's single side edge cleaning versus a lot of the competitors today that have dual edge, so the brush extends on both edges, which was also disappointing. However, one point in favor of Bissell, I was very impressed with how close to the edge it actually gets, and we'll see that in the cleaning tests in just a bit. The third disappointing thing for me was the brush cleaning. So after you're done cleaning your house, you put the machine back on the base, it's going to charge the base, and you press a button to clean the brush roll. That process was very quick on the Bissell, and I did not feel it did a very good job. Another missing thing, most of the models out there in the market today are able to dry the brush roll after you're cleaning, so you don't develop mildew and bad odors. Again, that's a feature missing on the Bissell. There's no brush drying. And another missing feature, most of these models today have an automatic mode with some sensors. So instead of running the machine at higher power, thus by reducing your runtime, it runs on lower power in auto mode, and then if it detects a lot of messes, a lot of debris, a lot of liquid, water, whatever, it automatically kicks the machine into a higher mode. And then when you don't need to be in higher mode, it's just running on lower power. Again, this is missing from the Bissell. The Bissell has 3 modes, and it's a bit clunky on how you control them. In other models in the market, you usually have the auto mode, and then you have a maximum mode, which kicks the brush roll into higher speed, but also there's more water being used. And then some of them have suction only mode, so there's only the vacuum that's running or the brush roll that's running, but no water is being fed. And some models have an eco mode that runs it even at a lower power. With the Bissell, there's no mode button per se. There's a button to control the vacuum power, and then another one to control the water output. And I felt it's a bit clunky to cycle through those modes. You can kick the machine into higher power, which usually kicks it to more water, but then you can reduce the water manually by pressing that water button, or you can go all the way down to 0 water, but sometimes it just messes up. And as you cycle through higher power or lower power, it goes to 0 water or high water. So I just felt the experience was a bit subpar. I would have rather it if there were 3-4 different modes that you can cycle through rather than those 2 buttons that control water and power. Now, how good was it at cleaning? Well, I did a few cleaning tests. The first one is a coffee stain test. I put some coffee on the floor, let it dry out over 12 hours, and it did a fairly good job at getting the coffee out. The next test was a stress test. That was a ketchup test. I let the ketchup dry over 12 hours as well, and this is a very stubborn mess, so it is hard to get, and eventually the machine did get it out. It did take a lot of passes, but I see that consistently with all the models in the market, so I wasn't expecting anything different. I did feel though that it did take much more passes than others to get this mess out. And my last test was a cereal and milk test. So this had larger chunks of cereal and milk on the floor. Also, the first pass, it was able to get most of it out, but I felt that the ability to suck the larger chunks was kind of limited. Also, it seems that there's lower clearance on the brush head than with other models that are more easily able to suck out any larger solid debris. So all in all, it did fine, but I wasn't blown away by the cleaning performance. And this is what the brush roll looked like after that cleaning test. And as you can see, it's quite stained red from the ketchup. And here I also felt with other models emerged cleaner after the ketchup test, even before running the cleaning cycle. Now, before I run the cleaning cycle, I emptied the dirty water tank, and this is what it was able to suck out, which was quite impressive. As with a lot of the models today in the market, there's a filter to catch the solid debris, which is nice to have because then you can throw those in the garbage and then just pour the liquid down your sink. But also, I felt the implementation of this with the Bissell was not great. As you can see, there's a lot of solid chunks of cereal that fell into the water and they were not caught by the filter. So nice attempt, but also kind of poorly executed. And then once done, I put the machine back on the base. I ran the brush cleaning cycle, which was fairly quick. And this is what the brush roll looked like after that cleaning cycle. I didn't feel it did much to clean the brush, to be honest. I ran it again 3 times in a row, and I felt the brush looked almost the same as it did before the cleaning cycle ran. So my final thoughts on the machine, as I said, I was a bit disappointed. I was really hoping that Bissell caught up at least a little bit with the competitors in the market, and it seems on so many different fronts they did not. Now, all that would have been fine if the Bissell was priced at a price point that was cheap enough, let's say, that would still differentiate it from the competitors in terms of price at least. Fortunately, that's not the case. The retail price is $400. I've seen it go lower, but at $400, there's a lot of other options in the market that offer you way more than what the Bissell does, so it's just impossible for me to recommend this. I've seen it go to $300, which makes it maybe somewhat okay to get, but I still think there's a lot of different models in the market, even at the $300 price point, that are way better in so many different areas. So that's it for me for the Bissell CrossWave OmniForce Edge. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions, and I will put links in the description to the product page. Make sure to check those out to see the price at the moment you're watching this. These are affiliate links, so if you do decide to purchase this, I would appreciate if you would use these links. I may earn some commission at no extra cost to you. This will greatly help support the channel. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, as this encourages me to continue producing content. Until next time, cheers.